One of the most beautiful things about my photography journey is the chance to meet incredible people along the way. When I was in Uzbekistan, I was lucky enough to cross paths with Jonathan Jasberg, an incredibly talented photographer with over 40 international awards, and he has been featured in big publications like the National Geographic Traveler and iShot magazine with his last book, Cairo. A Beautiful Thing is Never Perfect. Amazing book. Jonathan is well known for his incredible eye for light and color, dynamic and often layered compositions, all the while capturing those fleeting, decisive moments that make his work stand out so much. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Let's get into it.
I like this guy up here in the stairwell. Too bad the light on this mirror is bad, but I really like this guy up in here in the stairwell, you know? But yeah, the light's still really harsh. But you know, just with the quirky scene going on and then I don't know, I always like when there's multiple dimensions in terms of both like depth and height. So like stairwells like this, it's not a stairwell, it's a stairway or whatever, are great. And this mirror is great, but super dusty and the light is hitting it harsh.
I saw an interview of you a long time ago. You were describing, you have a name to describe the people in the frame that are kind of serving, how was the word?
Oh, I think what you're talking about is the false protagonist or maybe an accidental protagonist?
Yeah, so exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, so I think, I mean, it's a literary term, so I don't know, I could get the definition wrong, but the idea is like showing something in your picture where, you know, you're showing one thing that normally people would expect that to be the center point of the picture, right? And then you show something else and actually have that, like something that's not normally considered interesting, but you show it in like a creative and interesting way and make that the star of the picture. So for example, in the picture that I talk about, it's a picture of a geisha in Kyoto, Japan, right? Yeah. The geisha's walking by, but I specifically have the geisha like out of focus and, you know, you can kind of make out that it's a geisha and like, the protagonist is who you'd expect to be the star of the picture is the geisha, but I make the star of the picture like this tourist family, you know, this Western tourist family with a couple of kids, right? Like they're the real interesting part of the picture because you see their reaction to seeing a geisha for their first time. But that's kind of what I think about it how I think about it in my mind is like, you know, I'm using a creative approach to showing something that isn't normally interesting, and I'm showing it in an interesting way, and I'm showing it next to something that is interesting, and I'm almost disregarding that thing, and it just makes, the combination of the two makes the photo as a whole interesting, if that makes sense. I want to try.
So how you go between, you know, this idea of documenting reality versus, you know, crafting a photo?
So, I mean, I think that's what's so interesting about street photography or just like, you know, loosely interpreted documentary photography is that since I'm not working for a publication and I'm the one who decides what the photo is gonna be and look like. Like even though I'm taking photos of reality, I can display it in a way that's completely almost, you know, I mean, you know how this is where you like, you come away from a scene, for example, like if a bunch of people are looking at me and like paying attention and like doing this to the camera or whatever, if I get that one candid moment where nobody's paying attention to me, then it seems like I'm invisible. It seems like somehow, you know, I've become part of their subculture or whatever, and you're seeing it from that real insider, unique perspective, right? And I know in my mind, like when I look at these photos, some photos that I have on like Instagram, for example, like I know that's not the reality of what happened while I was actually there, like, you know, because I stand out, right? But, you know, if I hang around for long enough, then people stop paying attention to me and I'll get a shot. And a lot of times I like to get a shot where if I can frame it in a way or whatever to where it doesn't actually resemble what was actually going on, then it's more interesting. We're not, you know, writing a news story or whatever, right? And that's what's so interesting is like when you look at different photographers, right? It almost seems like they live in an alternate reality, right? Yeah. Like reality, but it's fiction as well. Yeah. You know, the photo looks one way, but I know, I know the reality was different, right? Lipstick, well-defined animal shadows, and Justin Bieber are just a few of my triggers. And I'm not joking about that last one, but I will keep the photos secret for now, but I'll provide examples of those other two. And so yeah, I have many other triggers, but these are a series that I'm working on, projects that I'm working on, and whenever I notice sort of a similar theme in photos, I'll write it down in a note on my phone, and I'll revisit that note, edit that note frequently. And I do that just to keep the ideas at the front of my mind so that when I am out shooting, those things that I do have in sort of series and projects that I'm working on, maybe, you know, a lot of these projects, they've been things that I've been working on for years. So I think it's important to revisit them and make sure that they're not forgotten. So I do note them down and look at them frequently. But those are a few of my triggers. So I like this door. There's these guys. Oh, yeah, here we go. I like the guys walking up the stairs because you could just see their upper halves. I wish this guy would have parked his bike a little bit closer. But this door right here is great. And then, you know, we got these guys. The guy's on his phone. He's scrolling Instagram reels. White bag. This guy's good. Thing here. Rolls Royce. yeah, fancy.
Russia?
Huh? America. Beautiful. Oh, you want a photo? Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Where are you guys from? Yeah, I'd say I'm somewhat of a minimalist. I've spent the better part of the last 15 years on the road, and during that time I've been refining and sort of optimizing everything I own. I live out of just a carry-on suitcase, and I only have one camera, the Leica Q3. So I like to keep everything really simple. I just travel, or I just carry a spare battery. I don't actually carry a camera bag or anything like that when I walk around. And I just like to have one camera, one focal length, and really keep everything nice and simple so that I'm not having to think about anything when I'm out shooting. And when I do shoot, I try to make my compositions clean and have only the necessary elements in there. So while they can be complex with a lot of things going on, really I like to have everything kind of stripped down and neatly presented. I guess the expression is like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts or whatever, right? Have you heard that? Yeah. So like, you know, rather than just taking a photo of one thing, if you can combine and place with care various elements in a way, in a sort of a meaningful way, at least if it's meaningful and interesting to you. If you layer just for the sake of layering, it's you know, it's no more interesting than doing any other sort of photographic technique for the sake of doing the technique, right? So for example, with a lot of my shots, I think the interpretation or the conception, conception, is that a right word? Is that a word?
Conception?
Yeah, is that a word?
Yeah, inception, when you create something?
I don't know. Or the perception or whatever of like my photos is that they have more in them than they actually do, right? Yeah. When in actuality, a lot of my photos, I think kind of what's making them be able to stand alone as a photo is there's a lot that's removed and there's just like the necessary elements. If I ask people who maybe know my photos, what is the average number of people in my photos, right? They're probably gonna overestimate with their answer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think that's a tendency that a lot of people have when they actually try to put together like a photo, if they're trying to like learn layering or whatever, is they'll, you know, put in tons of people, right? And it's like over 5 people or whatever is gonna be really, really difficult. But a lot of people like would guess, oh, you know, like your average photo has whatever, 10 people in it or whatever. I mean, I don't know if they would guess that. Look at that car, there we go. That's, yeah. Right next to a bunch of white Chevys. Like this guy's orange Che hey, good shirt. His orange Che Guevara shirt, like with this car, did you see that shirt? Yeah, I like, good color. Let's see. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Rahmat. Rahmat.
Okay.
Oh. If you're just starting out in street photography, the advice I would give is this. It takes time, a lot of time, and be in it for the enjoyment, not for the end result. And the other piece of advice that I would give is get a camera, learn it inside and out, and don't pay attention to the bells and whistles. Just learn how to quickly adjust exposure with your aperture, your shutter speed, and your ISO. Learn those inside and out, and you know, make your camera an extension of yourself and keep it simple. Don't chase new gear until you have mastered your current gear, and even then, don't chase it.